We talked about that earlier in this podcast with Amy about the trade deadline and what have you, and the Commanders just had a total fire sale, and obviously Montez Sweat to the Bears, and obviously we talked about Chase Young to the Niners, but how scary is that Niners line now? They've got to buy, they've got time for him to adjust to the team, and they've lost 3 straight. So
here's what I think about San Francisco. The thing that stops San Francisco every year is injuries. It has stopped them pretty much every year. With the exception that they get to the Super Bowl and who rips their heart out on I think it was a second and long or third and long, 3rd and 14, maybe it's Tyreek Hill. And it changes the dynamic of the game, and they're able to kind of reel off some plays after that and win the Super Bowl. A team that, I think Kyle Shanahan's been there, knocking on the door. Injuries have caused them problems. Trent Williams' injury has a ripple effect on what's an average offensive line without Trent Williams. Trent Williams is so dominant both in the run game and the pass game. You can play off of that. It's like having a wide receiver that's dominant or a corner that's dominant, where you can play man over here and roll coverage everywhere else. The quarterback has not played bad. He just has to play cleaner. And when everything is in place, he can do that. The problem is they're a little banged up right now. Here's the story on defense to me. I always marveled at the fact that and people don't realize this, under Kyle Shanahan, they've had 3 defensive coordinators. This is their 3rd defensive coordinator. And I always wondered how that worked, because Charlie Sumner was great for us when we, won the Super Bowl, and then you get another coordinator in, and it's just not the same. And I asked Nick Bosa about that earlier, and, it really doesn't impact, at least at that point, hadn't impacted their defensive front. Nick needs a little help on the edge, and I think they got it. I'm not sure what they paid for Chase Young, but, the thought process there was Chase has been banged up a lot. Chase hasn't strung together a lot of, 15 in a row games and that kind of thing. So the number might be a little bit lower. The Sweat trade, I think, was a 2nd rounder and some other pieces. When you're getting Sweat, you know exactly what you're getting. He shows up every day. He's the same guy. He stays healthy. He works hard. Bang, bang, bang. Chase Young's elevator is through the roof. And if they can keep him healthy out there in San Francisco, that blitz they ran right before the end of the half versus Minnesota was a head shaker. It didn't make sense. And that's the kind of nuance of a new coordinator's philosophy. Their defensive front was a lot like our defensive front in the sense that this is our group. We can play the run with 7 in the box. We can get there with our 4. We don't need you to blitz all the time. Save your blitz once or twice a game, not with 14 seconds left at the end of the half on their side of the field, force them to punt, get to the half. It's nothing. And, the game's a different game if he doesn't do that. So that's going to be interesting to keep your eye on, is their defensive coordinator and the impact it has on their defense, because they've got some great players and great guys. The standard there is so high. And they haven't met it over the last couple of weeks.
Check out new episodes of What the Football with Suzy Shuster and Amy Trask every Tuesday. Watch us on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page, or follow and listen wherever you get your podcasts.